this is Nagasa. Today we are going to talk about becoming a pragmatic thinker, practical steps to cultivate effective thinking. Have you ever thought of becoming a pragmatic thinker? Person who focuses on actions, person who emphasizes on results, or the one who wants to balance the idea with a practical action. So, if you are looking for a video that could help you develop a pragmatic thinking approach, this video is for you. By coming to this point, or to understand this concept, we'll go through practical steps that we have to focus on to become a practical thinker. The outline of my presentation goes at this. At first, we look at what pragmatic thinking approach means, and then go to focus on practical steps that are important to develop the effective thinking strategies. Before going to the details, I want to ask you to subscribe, like, and share, and inform other colleagues, your colleagues, so that they can obtain something from this. What is pragmatic thinking? What does it mean when we say pragmatic thinking? That is a question we have to raise. Pragmatic thinking is an approach that focuses on practical solution-oriented approach. It does not simply emphasize on theories, ideas, and abstract concepts. Rather, it emphasizes on practical activities and also solution-oriented approach. It also emphasizes on adaptability, critical thinking, and actionable outcomes, which are also an important element in the development of effective thinking strategy. Try to balance the theory and real world applications. It is a strategy, it is a thinking activity that focuses to balance theoretical knowledge, the knowledge that you have about a particular issue, and also apply those knowledge into real world issues. Practical, applicable, as well as solution oriented thinking strategy is called pragmatic thinking. So a person who follow this strategy is called a pragmatic thinker. So if you want to become a pragmatic thinker, I urge you to follow steps I am going to present. So what are those steps? What steps we have to focus when we need to become a pragmatic thinker? The first step is prioritize practical solutions than theoretical underpinnings. When you focus on practical solutions, you need to emphasize on what works, not on idea. The final emphasis, your focus should be on the what works, what is applicable, than what you have in mind. You have to also assess the feasibility and consequence of those actions. Here, when you focus or prioritize practical solutions, you have to ask this question: what is the most effective solution given the current resource you have? You have to emphasize on what works the best. For example, assume, let us say, uh, a teacher who faced a budget cuts or budget lack may create free online resources. We have to be practical or solution oriented person. You have to have backup plan when you are trying to implement something. And the second step is you have to embrace critical thinking. What is to mean by critical thinking? Most of you know critical thinking is the thinking approach that is based on evidence and logical, acceptable, way of thinking to reach uncertain conclusion. That is when what we have to emphasize as a practical or pragmatic thinker. When you are embracing critical thinking, you have to analyze problems objectively. You have to focus on the problems, and your analysis should be objective. You don't have to take side. You don't have to be influenced by another circumstances. Rather, you have to be positive when you are analyzing the problems. Another thing is you have to evaluate the evidence you have logically. If you don't know that, it draws your thinking, your ability to take effective decision. You need to be logical here. Evidence you have at hand should be logically organized, and based on that, you have to make your decision. And also, you have to challenge assumptions with questions like why. Because this why question is a logical question. It requires another explanation, reason. The major point you have to focus on here is when you are embracing critical thinking, you are focusing on reason-based thinking. That will let you just to get to some point. For example, uh, assume new policy came to a given company and the manager had to implement it. So what he has to do, a manager has to gather data, listen to team feedback, and identify potential roadblocks to implement the newly made or formulated policy. You need to be critical thinker when you're becoming a practical or pragmatic thinker. And the third is developing emotional intelligence. It is the ability to control your emotions, the ability to uh, manage your emotions so the best outcome would come from that. Unless and otherwise, if you fail to manage it, you are not going to harvest the outcome that you have planned. From this point of view, you have to have the ability to develop emotional interest. That means you have to stay calm and maintain clarity under pressure. Sometimes you may come across pressures, situations that are not comfortable to you. So at that moment, what you have to do? What you need to do is number one, you need to stay calm. And also you have to maintain clarity so as to overcome that pressure. And even you have to understand other perspectives. There are other options, thinking approach, and there are other persons who have certain solutions to the pressure that you are meddling with. So if you are not on that spot, that point, that would be dangerous to the effectiveness of your thinking and also the outcome that you have desired to achieve from very beginning. You have to collaborate with others to create solutions. You know, a single person does not just address all problems. We may not have A person may not have solution to every problems. Even the solution that we may develop does not fit to the problem that have already happened. In this case, you have to collaborate with others. You have to develop the spirit of teamwork and then address the solution. Assume a leader has organized discussion session for individuals or let us say employees. There are heated discussion among these individuals. Here, tension may occur. At this point, the leader has to diffuse this tension by acknowledging concerns and redirect their focus to shared goals. People may tend to focus on private interests or group interests. But in this case, the manager, the leader has to acknowledge the differences, the concerns of individuals, and then direct them to shared or collective goals. So, developing emotional intelligence is another point. And the fourth one is you have to be adaptable. What is meant by adaptable? You have to uh, adapt yourself to changing circumstances. You have to accept and adapt to changing conditions. You have to be flexible and open to new approach, new ideas, new thinking, and new working environment. And also you have to shift your approach. You have to see the atmosphere, focus on the atmosphere, and what sort of approach and methodology I need to adapt in order to achieve the goal that is intended. Here, you have to shift your concerns and questions from we have always done it this way to what worked best now. There are some people who always want us to do everything the same way they have done another thing. But there are other approaches. There are other dimensions. So here you have to be adaptable. You have to invite others to bring their approach. You have to bring them to your environment and be able to work with them and changing environment. Unless and otherwise, the product that you are going to produce or the approach that you have may not result in good outcome. This is what you have to emphasize. For example, uh, there are traditional way of doing things and there are modern way of doing things. Assume that there is a company that has employees and objectives that need to be fit or maintained by employees. The company may decide to switch to hybrid model after employees express a preference for remote workers. Company has to take up a hybrid model. That means working in person and working from remote. This is the approach. So being adaptable and adapting to the changing circumstances and situation is one of the best character of pragmatic thinking. The fifth step is practice effective decision making. As a pragmatic thinker, you have to practice it effectively, daily. If you want to become effective decision maker, then you have to practice it. When you practice effective decision making, number one, you have to break problems into manageable parts. You don't have to deal with them as they are. Just break them to different parts so that they can be handled. You have to also use tools like cost benefit analysis or decision tree. There are strategies, different strategies that are important to help you address and make that decision. Use those tools. In this case, you ask yourself this question: Does this approach move us closer to the goal? The approach that you took, the strategy that you adopt. Does this thing lead us to the goal that you have already framed or developed? And that is the best question. If you are interested in this lecture and presentation of these steps that we have said, which one you need more clarification? What is your suggestion? What do you think? If you want more clarity on each step or one of the steps, you can put on the comment section so that I can reply and I can make a video again. If you like this presentation, please subscribe, like, comment, and share to your friend so that they can get the same thing you have obtained from this lecture. Till next video, have a nice time.